Halloween season is almost over.
I know. It's my favorite time of the year, and it's so close to an end.
I miss it. I'm going to miss it.
I hate to ask this, but what are you going to miss the most about Halloween?
I don't know. Probably playing with my grandmother's arsenal.
What?
Yeah. Your grandmother doesn't have a bunch of guns that she likes to haul out
No.
on Halloween?
My grandma gives out pumpkin-shaped Reese's for Halloween.
Oh. Well, I guess my family's a little different than yours. You know what I do really also miss about Halloween? Podcasters being brutally murdered at a gas station.
Podcasters?
Yeah.
But I'm a podcaster.
I am too.
I don't want to get murdered.
I mean, neither do I, but it's part of the Halloween spirit, so.
What do you... I've never heard of a podcaster being murdered on Halloween.
You haven't seen the 2018 Halloween movie?
There's a movie called Halloween?
You haven't seen it?
You haven't seen it.
No way.
You're out of order.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Fasten your seatbelts.
You're tearing me apart.
Houston, we have a problem.
What we've got here is failure.
Conceivable. God damn you all to hell!
Hello and welcome to
You haven't seen
it. It's Spooky Dooktober, and I'm forcing my wife to watch scary movies that she's never got to see. I'm your host, Joey, and I'm laying it on way too thick.
And I'm so getting dry fucked tonight. His wife, Erin.
Yeah, super dry. Super duper dry.
What does even dry fucked mean?
I don't know.
That just
It doesn't sound good.
Not fun.
No.
Slippery and wet is the best.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, you want that lube, or otherwise it's going to feel like you try to jerk off with sandpaper the next day. It's not a good feeling.
No.
No.
Dry fucked? What is dry fucked?
I don't know. But anyway, let's move away from this. How about them Astros, Aaron?
They are killing it.
Uh-huh.
Get it?
Yeah.
'Cause it's Halloween. And
Yeah.
This is a cereal.
Mm-hmm. They are...
Slasher.
Yes, they are one game away from winning the American League
They're
championship.
playing tonight, so fingers crossed.
By the time you hear this, they might be at the World Series.
Yeah.
But tonight, the day that we're recording, they're hopefully playing the last game of the American League.
Yeah, for 2023.
Yeah, and there was an incident in the game
yesterday.
In the 8th inning, where one of the batters for the Rangers, Garcia, he got hit by a pitch and he took it personally.
Yeah. Well, you said that he was flouncing around after he hit a home run.
Yeah, he hit a home run earlier in the game to put the Rangers in the lead, and he was being kind of excessive celebration-y about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe he thought it was like payback when he got hit by that pitch.
Yeah, but he turned to the catcher, which is the catcher has no control over where the ball goes.
No, I mean the catcher calls the pitches.
Yeah, I know that, but what is he going to be like? 1, 2, 3, hit the guy.
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me because there was already 2 people on base. If they hit him with the pitch, the bases would have been loaded with 0 outs.
Mm-hmm.
There was 1 inning left, and we could have easily scored 2 runs.
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then the pitcher is now suspended for 2 games.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah.
That's some baby back bullshit.
Baby back bullshit. People get hit by pitches sometimes. It's
All
part
the
of the
time.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they get to go walk to a base. And that's why they have those arm guards on.
Yeah.
And it was on their arm where the arm guard is. So it's dude, he just seems like a hot-headed person.
Uh-huh.
And it seems like if they would have walked him, he would have done the same kind of shit. Like,
You
if he
think
would have
so?
gotten walked, I think it would have been similar.
What do you mean? Like,
If it was like ball after ball after ball, he would be like, y'all are trying to walk me.
oh, maybe.
You know? Like,
But that's legal to do in a game.
I know.
You can intentionally walk somebody,
Yeah, I know.
but you can't intentionally hit them with a pitch.
Yeah, and I doubt any of them intentionally hit him with a pitch.
I
He
don't
just
think
seems like a
so.
hot-headed asshole.
Yeah, I think so too.
But so our pitcher is now, well, one of our pitchers is now suspended for 2 games, but this guy who almost fought our catcher and was like pushing a ref is not suspended for 2 games.
Yeah.
That's a bit BS.
Yeah, that's bullshit to me. They should have both. I mean, either both of them or none of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I think so. Yeah. But anyways, we're going to win tonight, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
It's water under the bridge.
Adele.
Yeah. Water underneath. I don't know how it goes.
I can't think of it actually right now either.
All right. So, Aaron, we've been watching a lot of Halloween movies.
We have watched, this is our 3rd Halloween movie that we've watched.
I want to ask you, I've already asked you, like, what do you know about Rob Zombie? What do you know about the Halloween movies?
Mm-hmm.
But this time I want to get a ranking of, you've seen these 3 Halloween movies now.
Yes.
Where would you put them in order?
Okay. Number 1. Actually, let me go reverse.
Okay.
Number 3.
Second runner up.
Sure. Rob Zombie, by far. If I saw any other Halloween movie, that movie would probably be last. Unless there was another Rob Zombie Halloween movie, which I think there's more than one.
Yeah, there was a sequel to that one, but that's it.
Okay. So both of those, if I would have seen that one, it may be after that one. I don't know what the other one looks like, but it's definitely last on my list. I hated it. I did not like it. I don't want to watch it again ever.
It was hard to sit through, for sure.
Yes. Extremely hard to sit through. Second, first runner up is definitely Halloween 2018.
Okay.
And that's because it does some things really well. But I'm a classic kind of girl. Like, I like classics.
You're into the classics, all right.
I'm into like originals. Like, even whenever I listen to music, like, I'd prefer to listen to originals over covers.
Oh, yeah. I think that's everybody, though.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, even like most times, like, whenever there's a remake of something, I'm always like, oh, the original I like better.
Mm-hmm.
Just generally. Because I've seen Friday the 13th. I've seen like that there's been a remake of that one.
Yeah, that's also not, I wouldn't say it's a direct remake, though.
And then, isn't there a remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yes.
I prefer the original.
Oh,
to
yeah.
that one.
Oh, in that case, for sure.
So, like, of movies, I generally prefer originals to sequels and to other remakes and things
Right,
like that.
yeah, uh-huh.
So and my number 1 is going to be Halloween, the original.
Right.
Just because I like being the first one to do it. I give that a lot of merit and respect. So I think that's one of the reasons. I think Halloween this 2018 did some things really well and did some callbacks to the original, what I
Right.
thought were really fun, and I really enjoyed those things. But what it made me think was, oh, that was so smart of the first movie to do that, you know? So that was my, like, I'm a classic kind of girl.
Right. I hear you. Well, that's been a tradition through all the Halloween movies.
Yeah.
Is them paying homage to the original in different
Mm-hmm.
ways. And, like, there's always characters that are named after people who worked on the movies and stuff like that. It's kind of been
really?
Yeah, it's been a tradition with all of that. It's pretty cool. I like that. But I think this movie did it the best.
2018?
Yeah, because
Of remakes of horror movie remakes that I've
But
seen.
I wanted to say, like, this isn't really a remake. It's a sequel to the original.
You're right.
It's called Halloween.
Yeah. Of kind of sequels, I would say this is one of the best sequels I have seen. Like seeing sequels of other horror movies, this was one of the best ones I've seen because they like give us little nougats of the original Halloween that it's like, oh, that's such an iconic thing. And even like whenever we were watching the Rob Zombie one, I was like, I wanted to see all of the inmates walking around and they didn't do that. Like because of some tragedy or like something happened to where Michael helped them escape and they're all walking around. But like they didn't do that in that movie. But in this one, they did it in such a fun, interesting way.
Yeah, it's like the Rob Zombie movie, like intentionally tried to not pay homage to the original. It's like they used the same names of the characters, and that was it.
Yeah,
it was almost like, hey, this movie you really like, we're gonna screw it up for you.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna fuck it up the ass.
Yeah. But enough. We complained enough about that movie.
Yes.
But in the 2018 one, I would put that up there with like some of the greatest sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Like
for sure.
Terminator and Terminator 2 are two of my favorite movies ever. I love them. And Terminator was such a really fantastic low budget sci-fi movie. Mm-hmm. And then 6-7 years later, that's when Terminator 2 came out. So like nobody was really anticipating it to come out, and like that's a pretty long distance between a sequel. Mm-hmm. Usually when a movie's a big hit, it's like 1 or 2 years later they're making the sequel. And it was amazing. And then Friday the 13th, mm-hmm. they killed the killer at the end of the first movie. Yeah. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? It's like, well, let's just bring Jason back. It was like one of the best decisions they could have made for a mm-hmm. sequel, even though it didn't really make a lot of sense. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but I would put this Halloween 2018, 40 years later. Like, I don't think any of the other sequels even come close to it. Yeah. And it's because they went back to the original mm-hmm. and they didn't retcon anything or try to change anything. In Halloween 2, that's when they started doing that thing about Laurie being his sister or whatever. And it wasn't part of the original. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad they retconned that. Yeah. Because that is the first step that make all these sequels so annoying and stupid and add all this stuff up. You haven't seen a lot of them, but like in Halloween 5 and 6, they start making it about the occult. And that Michael Myers is an arm of this cult. And they are the ones who are making him kill. Oh, no. It's just like, it couldn't be any further off the map. Like, you go back to the first one, it's like this kid kills his sister, gets put away, breaks out, and he's just a murderous fiend who you're afraid of. Yeah. And he could be anywhere at any time. Mm-hmm. And then they just were like, oh, actually, he's trying to kill his sister. That instantly makes it less scary because it's like, well, he's focused on a mission mm-hmm. to kill one person. So that makes it instantly less scary. And they brought all that back for 2018. They're like, this movie was scary. Yeah. I was jumping at parts of it and I was like, I was getting nervous and scared. Yeah. So I did really enjoy this movie. I have some like critiques of it, but also like, it's not a perfect movie by any means, but last night while we were watching, I was like, this is the best Halloween after the original. Oh, well, I mean, I've only seen 2 of them, but yes, by far. The only ones that I haven't seen are Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection. Those are the only 2 that I haven't seen. Mm-hmm. I've seen all the rest of them. I've even seen both versions of number 6. There's 2 versions? Yeah, because it was such a mess. They fired the director and then had someone else come in to film additional scenes. Oh, no. And then release it in the theater. And then they released one called the Producer's Cut. And it's crazy. It has all that occult stuff I was talking about. Oh. And that one is terrible. I love it. because it's such a train wreck, but it is terrible. Yeah, I'm just blown away by this movie. I want to watch the other two now.
Yeah, I would be interested to see the other two.
Yeah.
Especially because he's supposed to come back. It's like, what the fuck? You died in a fire?
Well, yeah, but this is...
But it doesn't show him dying.
Yeah, but it's again, it's a callback to the original because he was shot like how many times?
Yeah.
He fell out of the house and then he's just gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this unstoppable killing machine who you can't understand his motives. That's scary.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about that. This movie was directed by David Gordon Green, written by Jeff Fradley, Danny McBride, and David Gordon Green. John Carpenter came back as a, what do you call that? Consultant. Like he consulted on the script.
Oh, okay. Really?
Which is one of the reasons I think it was so good. Is probably because they're writing the script and then they can go, hey, Mr. John Carpenter, what do you think about this? Would Michael do this? Would Laurie do this? And I think that was really cool. It's starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, Andy Matchak, Will Patton. Music by John Carpenter. You noticed an interesting thing at the end of the movie about the music, didn't you?
Yeah, we'll talk about it because I have it in my notes.
Okay, so we'll talk about that when we get to it. All right, so let's get into it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the movie starts up with us in a mental prison.
Mental prison?
Yeah, because at first I was like, it's a mental hospital. I was like, it's not a hospital.
It's like
more
a
of
minimum.
prison.
It's like a minimum security for the criminally insane or something like that.
Minimum or
Maybe
maximum?
I think it was minimum
Because they were literally chained to the floor.
Oh, okay.
It seemed pretty high. Like
It doesn't matter. It's not really that big a deal.
Anyways, but they're in this mental facility.
Right.
And these two podcasters, are they podcasters or
they were
are they
true
reporters?
crime. Well, yeah. Well, I used to listen to a lot of true crime, and there are a lot of podcasts that were done by like true blue journalists.
Oh, okay.
So they were journalists / podcasters.
Okay. So they go to the facility that that Michael is at, and they get to go see Michael, and then they're introduced to this doctor. What's the doctor's name?
Sartan or something.
Okay.
Dr. Sartan, I think.
I thought it was Dr. Loomis, but
I thought that too.
That's not Dr. Loomis. It's his predecessor, I guess.
Right.
So he studied the case, and he took on Michael's case once Dr. Loomis was gone.
Right. So they're saying like, hey, look, we're going to go meet up with him out in the yard. They're chained up. Don't step past the yellow box. Mm-hmm. So they go up to him, and I don't remember exactly what he says, but eventually he pulls out the mask and holds it up.
Yeah. And all of the patients around Michael start freaking out. Like
yeah, they
hitting
start
themselves
screaming
and screaming.
Yeah, and it's weird. Mm-hmm. But it's also ominous. It's scary.
And Michael, you can tell like the one thing about the podcasters is like they were very antagonizing.
Yes.
And they were like, you can feel it. We know you can. Like, speak to us. And like, when they were holding the mask, like that was when all of the patients were starting to freak out. And I think they were feeding off of the energy that Michael was giving off.
Okay.
But like Michael was like, you could see his fists were like gripped.
Yeah, they showed his hands. So
that you could see like he could feel it, but he's not letting it show to them.
Yeah, I like that he looks like an old dude, but they don't ever show his face. Mm-hmm. They show just enough of him for you to get like, oh, this dude's like 60 years old.
Yeah. They like show really like just the corner of his eye.
Yeah.
Past.
And his like male pattern baldness. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was really cool. So that like they hold up the mask and you kind of wonder, it's like, how did they get that mask?
For real. I don't know where the mask would have been. I don't know the rest of the
And is it his original mask?
Yeah.
That he used. But anyway. So Michael Myers doesn't do anything. He just stands there, and there's just a hard cut to black, and it's the credits with the music.
Mm-hmm.
And this is such a cool thing. Like, they show a rotten pumpkin in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts out rotted, and it slowly morphs back to a normal jack-o'-lantern.
Which is it's kind of a thing for Halloween. There's always pumpkins on the porches.
Yeah, well, it's a callback to, there was that pumpkin in the original movie, but it's kind of cool that it's like, yeah, this thing has been gone for a long time,
but it's
now
coming back.
It's coming back. It was really cool, really ominous, and it was real. It wasn't CG. I read that it was time lapse.
Yeah, I can tell. I've seen time lapses where,
I mean, you can tell if
it looks really great.
Yeah, but if you're not paying attention, you might just think it's
CGI.
Yeah, but if you are paying attention, you'll know it's not. And what does it take? Probably like a week for a pumpkin to rot?
Way more than a week.
Really?
Yeah, like you can get a pumpkin, carve it, and if you, I guess if you leave it out,
they rot pretty quick though.
But fully, rot to where it to the state it was in the beginning, that was fully rotted. Like most of the time, whenever we throw out a pumpkin, it's been 2-3 weeks, and it's just like the bottom half of it is rotten out. You know?
Yeah.
But this thing had almost liquefied.
Yeah.
So that
true.
would have taken a while.
Yeah. That would have been a very long-term time lapse. Mm-hmm. I want to know exactly how many shots they took of it. And
yeah.
I love time lapse. I used to do time lapses with my camera. That's been put away in the closet for years now.
So after the pumpkin has gone away and the credits are done, they are pulling up to this gated.
Well, it shows them driving. This is so funny the way they depict these podcasters. Like, they're always recording. Like, they're always making content when you see them. Like, they're in the car with one of those Zoom recorders.
And they're talking to each other about all of this stuff.
Yeah, but it's like he's doing it in his performative podcaster voice in the car. So all that road noise, why would you do that? Like, I understand taking notes, taking verbal notes. But you were actually doing performative podcasting in your car.
So they go to this gate and they buzz something. It's in the woods. It's a gate, and they're like, "Hey, we want to talk to Lori about Michael." And they were like, "Go." The person over the speaker, I think they say, "Go away." And they go, "Well, we have $3,000 if you want to talk. If you would talk to us."
And then there's a little beep, and then the door opens. Yeah. So Lori doesn't want to talk to anybody unless they've got money.
Which, I mean, $3,000 for podcasts. We both looked at each other, and we were like, "What kind of podcast do they have?"
Yeah.
Hey, if you guys want to donate $3,000 to our podcast, we'd totally appreciate it.
Yeah, we're losing money on this podcast, so we don't make any money doing this. That's why you never hear any ads.
It's just a joy.
It's a labor of love.
So
they go in and interview her, and she's like, "Do you believe in the boogeyman?" And they're like, "Well, we believe in Michael Myers. He's like a serial killer." And she's like, "You should believe in the boogeyman."
Because that's what he is.
Yeah, because that's what he is. And that's pretty much it. She doesn't really divulge that much information to them. Mm-hmm. And then cuts to Lori and her family.
Yeah.
Lori.
Not Lori's.
Allison, her granddaughter. Oh, and we find out that Lori's been married twice.
And that her daughter was taken away from her.
Yeah, when her daughter was 12.
But something about Aaron is that he was antagonizing her the entire time they were having this conversation.
Okay.
Which it shows whenever he died, I was like, good, he was an asshole. But he was antagonizing all of the mental patients and Michael, and then he starts antagonizing Lori. So my whole thought whenever Aaron does die, I was like, okay, fine for him. The girl, I was like, oh no. But
yeah, well, I was really glad they got rid of those podcasters. I was like, this movie has too many characters. We really don't need these people. Yeah, I think they were having a trouble trying to get the movie started and get
Yeah.
the exposition out, and they came up with these podcaster characters, but I think it's one of the weaker parts of the movie.
Yeah, but
it's very unnecessary.
Something I did appreciate about them was when they were talking to Lori, they were like, one thing we want to know is why did he choose you? What was so special about you? And he killed 5. And Lori said, he killed 5 people, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, he only killed 5 people compared to Rob Zombie's movie where he killed 1 million people. And then in this movie, he does kill a lot more people than the first, for sure. But
I feel like they definitely had to do that.
Yeah.
Because, modern slashers, a lot more get killed.
Killers or killings.
Yeah.
But that was always my question whenever we watched the first one. Why did he choose her?
Yeah.
And so them asking that question and her not knowing the answer was kind of like, I liked that little callback of like, we don't understand why. And it's like, nobody does.
Yeah, they're trying to undo all the garbage that the sequels did in the beginning. And they hit it over the head like 3 times. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't know why he's doing what he's doing. Yeah. Like, in the beginning, when they go there, that's kind of what they talk about at the mental institution or whatever the hell it was. And then now here Lori is reiterating it. And then in a few minutes, when we meet her granddaughter, Allison, her friend is like, wasn't that her brother or something like that? Wasn't that your grandmother's brother? It's like, no, it wasn't. That was just some rumor that went around.
I didn't hear that part. Yeah. I didn't hear them say that.
Yeah. So this movie does a lot of work to be like, look, don't put all that other garbage out of your head.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that.
But something the podcasters wanted Lori to do was face Michael. They wanted her to face him because they were like, he's going to be transferred to another place. You should face him.
Oh.
And she says something along the lines of like, I can't. I don't want to, or something. I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Allison?
Yeah, Allison and her family, and specifically her mom, because her mom, played by Judy Greer, is Lori's daughter.
Who was taken away.
Yeah, she was taken away because Lori kind of lost it, or people thought she lost it. Mm-hmm. And so she was training her to defend herself, so she knew how to shoot guns since she was 8 and all that. And I forgot what it was. Was it a birthday or? And she's like, "Oh, hey, did you invite Grandma to?"
Well, it was like a dinner. Oh, she was getting inducted into the Honor Society.
Yes, that's right. And then you can tell Judy Greer is like, "Oh yeah, totally."
I totally did that.
Yeah.
And Allison's like, I know she lied to me because I called my grandma.
Yeah.
And she told me she didn't call her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she invited her grandma to come to the dinner where her parents are also going to meet her boyfriend, Allison's boyfriend, for the first time.
Yeah. And then her dad is being a typical dad about beating her boyfriend. Right?
Yeah. But before we get to the dinner, we meet Allison's friends. And they're, just normal. Honestly, comparing how the teenagers spoke to each other in the first movie and into this movie, they speak. I work with teenagers all the time.
They were much more grounded as teenagers.
They were great teenagers. I don't know how old any of the actual actors were, but they really portrayed teenagers really well.
Yeah, all the dialogue for the teenagers and stuff was pretty good. Mm-hmm. They were way toned down compared to 78 and 2000, and seemed more like actual teenagers.
Yeah,
yeah. And we get to school with Allison, and we meet her boyfriend, and they're talking about a Halloween costume.
Yeah, they're gonna dress up together. And then this boy pops up, and
I think
it seems like his friend or something.
Yeah, I think it's her boyfriend's friend, but it's pretty obvious that he has a thing for Allison too.
Yeah,
and he was supposed to dress up, like they were supposed to do a dress up thing.
All 3 of them.
Was it all 3, or I thought it was just?
I think he thought they were gonna all 3 dress up together, but they decided to dress up just themselves.
Oh, okay.
but I'm not positive.
Yeah.
But-
did you notice the boba that one
Yes,
person
I
had?
saw that and I was like, oh, she even has boba.
It looked like the most disgusting boba. It looked
She definitely wasn't drinking it.
no, just sloshing it around like
Yeah.
totally a prop. But it just looked like water with powdered milk in it or creamer, and then they just dumped some tapioca balls. It looks so gross.
It was like green.
Was it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
supposed to look like
It was
matcha,
just
I think.
really cloudy and like watery looking. It was bad. And then there's a callback to the lecture. Like they show her in class, and she's sitting through a lecture in class, and she's sitting in the same spot that Lori was sitting in the
Yes.
original movie. But when she looks out the window, instead of seeing Michael,
She sees her grandma,
she
Lori.
sees Jamie Lee Curtis out there, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. So this is
I know.
really-
I was expecting to see Michael,
yeah.
and it was her grandma. I was like, oh, that was cool. That was a fun little callback.
Yeah, that's what I really like about this movie. If you're a diehard fan of the original, there's these things that are just for you. But like maybe this could be your first Halloween movie that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
But you won't be thinking anything.
No,
about it.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
This would, if you've never seen a Halloween movie and you watch this one for the first time, you're not going to miss anything. You're
No.
not going to, it does a really good job of giving you a full picture.
Yes. And also, if you liked it and you went back and watched the first one, you'd be like, oh, hey.
That's where
look
that
at
came
Yeah,
from.
so it makes it even more fun to like go back in time too.
Mm-hmm.
So then she goes out and
She's talking to her grandma.
and her
And
grandmother gives her a bunch of money.
Her grandma gives her the $3,000 that she had
oh,
received.
That's right.
Um,
So she must have been thinking about that the whole time. She's like, when they offer $3,000, she's like, oh, I'll give this to my granddaughter.
yeah, that's exactly what popped into my head. I'm going to give this to my granddaughter whenever the money popped up.
Yeah.
And she goes, I don't know what I'm going to do with $3,000. She goes, put it to,
She says, go to Mexico.
Go to Mexico or something like that. Cause she's like, oh, I'll put it for college. And she's like, don't do that.
Yeah. I
Go to
think she just-
Mexico, do something fun.
I think she just wants her to be gone for when Halloween
Yeah.
comes around.
So right after that, Lori goes to the facility that Michael is at where they're about to transfer him. And she sees his silhouette in the bus. And it causes her a traumatic response. And she goes to the restaurant where her daughter's at and her granddaughter. And she comes in and she tells her, Allison's talking to her mom. And's like, Mom, did you ask Grandma? And she goes, oh, yeah, she said she couldn't make it. And then Jamie Lee Curtis is right there.
Yeah, she
She
shows
just like
up.
pops right up. And it's like, oh, hi, Mom.
Yeah.
You
And
made it after all. Yay.
yeah, she immediately like makes an ass out of herself because she starts to break down because she's starting to get nervous about Michael. She knows that the transfer is going to go wrong.
Yes.
And she's starting to kind of lose it. And there's a part where they show her like shooting at all of her mannequins at her property.
Yeah.
to, like, practice and get prepared.
After she goes to the dinner, she like walks out because she's been crying or like freaking out. She starts drinking some wine and her daughter's like, I thought you stopped drinking. Blah, blah, blah. She walks out. Her granddaughter talks to her. And then she goes home and she starts shooting the mannequins.
Yeah. Or I don't even know if that was before. But anyway, they show Michael getting on the transfer bus, and Dr. Sartan says something weird about
Dr. Loomis, I think the podcasters call him.
no, because Dr. Loomis is dead. Though
No,
I forgot about that.
The podcasters call Dr. whatever his name. And that's where Loomis reveals that
Loomis is dead.
whatever the guy's name is, the new doctor.
Okay, well, it's confusing because they played a recording from Dr. Loomis that almost sounds like Donald Pleasance.
Well, what's the guy? Doctor what? What's this new doctor's name?
Dr. Sartan.
Sartan. I need to write that down.
But he says something about protecting Michael when he's getting on the bus. And you start to think like, okay, this Sartan dude might not be on the up and up.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. What I was about to say was when the podcasters call him and Sartan tells them that Dr. Loomis, before he died, said that Michael needed to be killed.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's what
I was
say.
getting to that part. But Doctor, and they play the recording of Dr. Loomis talking about him,
Yes.
and like there is no helping this guy. He needs to be put to death. Essentially, he needs to be put down like a dog. And Dr. Sartan told them that too, which is like when in a screenwriting you're supposed to put things in there multiple times, so the dumb people will be caught up. But Dr. Sartan, when he's getting on the bus, says something about protecting Michael.
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but you're like, oh shit, this guy might not be on the up and up.
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
So whenever he turned later on, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah, but also like, why was he on the bus when those people showed up? Like the bus is overturned and that kid goes on the bus looking for his dad.
Well, he was on the bus. Whenever Lori was there and they were about to load Michael up, he was sitting on the bus with everyone. He was sitting in the front left seat. And then people were walking on and then they put Michael down.
Yeah, maybe I missed that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he should have been on the bus though. So, but anyway.
But I think he was saying I needed to be there so that I could make sure Michael doesn't do anything.
Right.
Something else is the girl. She keeps calling Lori grandmother instead of grandma, which I think is weird. Do people call their grandma grandmother?
People call their grandmas all types of things because
Grandmother.
people make up dumb names for the grandparents.
Grandmother.
Well, it's better than like a Nana or something like that.
Nana.
Or no, Nana or Mimi or Momo or Googob or Boobob. The name people come up with grandparents are so dumb.
Like Mima.
Well, I didn't want to say that one. But it makes me cringe when people have these goofy names for their grandparents. Like I called both of my grandparents grandpa and grandma.
Well, I'm going to make sure Joliet's children, if she has any, call you some goofy ass fucking name.
They can call me Poopa or whatever. No, they're just going to call me grandpa.
No, they're going to call you Poop Poop.
Hey, Poo Poo Daddy Poop Face.
Okay, anyways. So the bus crashes and we don't see the bus crash. We see this guy and his son. They're about to go hunting, and I loved this scene. The boy was like, "I want to dance."
This was a really great scene, and I wanted to talk about it because this is amazing writing. These people are on screen for 3 whole minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The dad even less than that, and they immediately are developing their characters.
Yes,
like, we know them. We know exactly who they are, and we're sad for them when they're dead.
Yes. So the dad's like, we're going hunting. Like, you seem so upset. And the son's like, but I'm missing dance class for this. And he goes, is dance really that important to you? And he goes, yes, Dad.
Yeah, he says, to me it is. And the dad's not mad at him, too.
Yeah,
The
which makes us not hate him.
Yeah. The dad's like, okay. He's like, Dad, I'm just really focused on dance right now. And it's really important to me. So I don't want to miss class.
Aww.
And he also says, like, I like fishing with you and stuff, but dance is important.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
Yeah, so they come up on this overturned bus, and I like that they don't show the bus crash. Also, this movie, the budget was $10 million, which I'll talk about later, but that's nothing.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, I'll talk about it now. I won't talk about it later. The budget was so low, and they have Jamie Lee Curtis. She's not a cheap actor to hire. Judy Greer is... been in a million things. Like, they've got some other actors in this. I think all these people took points.
Yeah.
I think they said, like, look, we need to make this movie for a really low budget. So when the movie comes out and it makes a bunch of money, we'll give you a piece of it. Yeah. In the industry, they call that points. We'll give you a point, half a point, a whole point, or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works because no one's ever offered to pay me any points. But yeah, I have a feeling that's what. This movie made $259 million.
Oh, wow.
It's $250 million. It's the highest grossing Halloween movie. It's the highest grossing psycho slasher movie.
Wow.
And it was rated, it's a hard R too. So that's huge. Mm-hmm. All these movies that come out are PG-13 because they can't close it off to, the Marvel movies. They can't make those rated R because they need everybody to go to it. They need 8 and 9 and 10-year-olds to go to it. So... That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But the bus crash scene. So the son and dad, they pull up, and you see, just like in the original, all of the patients walking around in white gowns, and I loved this visual.
It was really well lit too.
Yes, it looked very similar. It gives that same feeling as the original, which I thought was so well done. And they, I can't remember what the boy and the dad say, but it was something along the lines of like, what's going on here? Like, do they need help? And the dad stops the car and he says, "Stay in the car," to the son. And they have guns because they're going hunting. Right. But the dad gets out of the car and he's like, "Hey, do y'all need help? What's going on? Are y'all okay?" And then we hear nothing else from the dad. And the boy calls 911. He's like, "Hey, there's a bus crash. We don't know what's going on."
And then he goes out. He grabs a gun and he goes out to look for his dad.
Yeah. Well, they say, "Where's your dad at?" And he's like, "I'm not sure." And then he opens the door and he has a gun with him. And he's like, Dad, where are you, Dad?" And then he steps up and there's this, what is it? A police officer, one of the guys that was in the bus.
Yeah, like a corrections officer or something.
And he says to the guy, like, "Run." He says to the little kid, "Run." Which well, I didn't hear him say it, but I saw it on the subtitles because we watch movies with subtitles.
Right. Yeah, you have to. But he goes on the bus and Dr. Sartan jumps out of nowhere.
And he shoots him.
Yeah, the kid shoots him.
Because it scares him.
Yeah, and then he runs out and he gets back in the truck. And, Michael's going to be in the back of it. Mm-hmm. And he pops out of the back seat and strangles him the same way he strangled Annie in the first movie. So it was another callback. It was the exact, like, they shot it through the driver's side window and everything, but he strangled him just like he strangled Annie in the 78 movie. Did you notice that?
Oh, no, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was the exact same shot.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's so many.
Well, I was like, oh my gosh, the kid, he literally kills this kid.
Yeah.
But, which a lot of people like hate when kids get killed in movies.
Yeah.
But, like, it was well done. It wasn't distasteful.
No.
Like, they didn't like brutally kill this little kid. It was like he strangled and that's it.
Yeah. And then we go to a corner store maybe, or was it a bar? But anyway, there's a deputy or a sheriff playing pinball. Mm-hmm. I think,
which is another callback to the original.
Yeah. Was he playing pinball in the?
I don't remember if he was playing pinball, but they were in some type of store doing something.
Oh,
and it was a very similar, reminiscent thing.
Yeah, but this actor, I believe he was in the first movie. Because remember, Dr. Sartan says, like, oh, he's the first officer who responded to the thing. Like, I think that actor is reprising his role. As he was a deputy, but I think he's a sheriff in this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we then cut to the gravesite after the bus and he kills the kid. We cut to the gravesite.
Oh, right. The podcasters go to the gravesite, right?
And this woman's like, "I don't understand why everyone's so fascinated by this grave." And it's Judy's grave. Yeah, it's Judith Meyer's grave. And she says, like, if we have any attraction here in Haddonfield, this is it. Like, this is the one attraction that people come here for. Yeah. And the podcasters kneel down and they're looking at the grave and doing stuff. But the woman who brings them over there, she looks up and she sees the shape behind the tree. Yeah, that's right. Also, whenever Lori sees Michael on the bus, she calls him the shape, which I loved that she called him that because it's not really said in the first movie that he's the shape, but it's just in the credits. He's credited as the shape. So I like that they started calling him the shape. Yeah. So that we get like, oh, like it was a nice callback. Yeah, because people that really got abandoned in the later movies. That he's just always referred to as Michael. And then we cut to the podcasters we see like Michael going around to these different places. And
Well, then we go. The sheriff is at the hospital, and or I don't know. Like, is that black guy with the cowboy hat? Is he the sheriff? I think he's the sheriff, and then that other guy's still just a deputy, but I'm
Maybe.
not sure. Anyway, they're at the hospital with Dr. Sartan, and they want to question him, but he's out. Like, he's under anesthesia, or he's still knocked out from being shot. And he's like, well, he's scared because he was there on the original Halloween night. Mm-hmm. So he's like, this is why we need to fear this night.
Yeah.
You know?
I understand what it's like.
Yeah. But
you don't,
yeah.
dude with the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And he was like, we can't shut down Halloween.
Yeah, of course you can't. So they don't, you find out that sheriff guy is like, we're not going to put this out because we don't want to scare all the citizens, is essentially what happened there. Mm-hmm. So then that's when the podcasters go to the gas station.
Yeah. So they're at this gas station / mechanic
also,
shop.
he mentions he calls it the babysitter murders, which is another callback because there was always this rumor that went around that the original name for Halloween was the babysitter murders. Oh. Like that was the working title, but
I've heard them say, like, in the beginning of this movie when Allison's friends are talking to her, they say the babysitter murders.
Oh, okay. They said it then too?
Yeah,
okay.
So it's been something that has been said. And I think it was said in the original as well.
Maybe. Could have been.
Well, maybe not, because that's when the babysitter murders happened.
I don't know. But there was always this thing that's like, people used to say like Halloween was originally called the babysitter murders, and then they changed the title to Halloween. But the title was always Halloween.
Oh, okay.
So.
But the podcasters are at the gas station, and you see this glimpse of Michael walk behind them at the gas station. So he's at the pump. They open up the trunk. You see his mask is there, but they close the trunk. Anyways, and maybe it's still open. I don't know. They're getting gas. Aaron is getting gas, and the girl goes inside.
Is he still talking into his recorder too?
I don't remember. But she goes to the bathroom to
do her business
in the back. She goes in the back.
Yeah,
to go to
she
the
asked the attendant, who's alive at this point, where is the bathroom? And she's like, he's like, it's around back.
Yeah.
So she goes there, and she's taking a shit or whatever.
Well, it looked like she was peeing.
Well, she was taking a long time.
Women take time to go to the bathroom. There's a lot of parts that we have to do. There's a lot of things we have to do to go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
we can't just whip it out and then pee and then whip it back in.
I know you have to pull your tampon out and put it in a little tampon holder and then pee and then reinsert your tampon, right? No. That's how that works?
Gross. What if that was out?
That was in that TV show. That TV show with Molly Shannon and what's her name? Vanessa Bayer. Do you remember that?
No.
I was so confused because like she was talking to another coworker. And she's like, I asked them to get us a shelf that we could put our tampons in when we go pee. And I was like, wait, do you take your tampon out? Like, I thought that you didn't need to take it out. And then I had to ask you. I was like, wait.
I think it was just to store the tampons.
I guess maybe that was it. But I thought it was a joke in the show. But I don't know.
Anyways. So she's sitting on the toilet, and I was like, oh, no, not another toilet murder. I did not want him to murder them in the bathroom.
Oh, like he did the grizzly guy? Oh, God, that was
gross.
so disgusting.
I don't know. Luckily, she wasn't taking a nasty-ass dump.
Yeah.
She was probably just peeing.
I don't think she had even started doing anything yet because he walks in, and she's like,
yeah, should I pee her?
Yeah, should I pee her?
So he walks in as soon as she closes the door, she sits down, and you see his feet, and she's like, what the heck? Someone came in the room, which I can understand being like, oh, I thought I was the only one, especially in a gross bathroom like that.
Yeah, the one that's open to the outside of the It is, and it's Michael too. Yeah, because it's these big boots with coveralls on. Also,
hearing big boots as a woman in the bathroom, I would be like, what the fuck? And I would also be shy to pee too. But he goes up to the door, or he's going up to each door and opening them, like she did right before she sat down in the last stall. And because all of the bathrooms are really disgusting, and she finally finds one that's somewhat presentable. But he's opening every stall, and he gets to hers, and does he knock on it, or does he just shake
He tries to open it.
And she goes, "Someone's in here." And then he stops. He like takes a couple steps, and then he comes back, and then he puts his hand over the stall and drops a bunch of teeth on the floor. And she's like, "What the hell are those?" And she realizes it's teeth.
And this actor was not reacting enough to the scene, in my opinion. She was just like looking at like bloody teeth on the ground, like,
What the heck?
what? Are those jelly beans? Like, it was weird. But anyway, this part is really scary and very suspenseful.
Yeah.
Because she's being really still, and you'll be like, well, maybe he just won't know that she's in there. Maybe he'll just stop.
Yeah.
But he just keeps on.
Yeah, then he starts shaking the door and trying to like break it in. And so she stands up, puts her pants on, and he like opens the door, and she crawls underneath, which...
But in between all of this happening too, they cut away for a little bit, and Aaron goes inside.
To find her. Because
Yeah.
she's like, where is she at?
And now that attendant that was alive a minute ago...
His neck is broken.
Yeah, his neck is broken, or his jaw or something. Like, he was pretty brutally murdered with someone's hands too.
Yeah.
Which is the creepy part of it. You could tell somebody did it with their hands.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the bathroom, and you're even more scared now because you're like, Michael's killing people.
Yeah. Just... it's not just one person he's after. He's killing everyone in his way.
Yeah, he'll just kill anybody. So then you're scared for her. You're super scared for her.
Yeah, and then it cuts to the middle of the shop, and then you see this pool of blood and this naked guy on the floor.
Yeah, and there's an air hose like flapping around.
So Michael has taken someone's uniform and put it on himself.
Yeah.
So
and I'm tired of mechanics getting killed in these movies, all right?
Well,
this isn't cool.
Joey, watch your back, because Michael is out for you.
Mechanics are people too.
Does Michael's uniform say Michael on it?
No, it doesn't say anything.
Okay. Well,
that'd be funny if he had a little name tag that said the shape.
Well, it needs to say Michael so that it could be like, he's only killing Michaels that are mechanics. Mechanics named Michael.
I'd feel so much safer now.
I know. So we cut back to the bathroom, and then Aaron hears the girl, I don't know her name. He hears her screaming. And so he runs to the bathroom around back, and he sees Michael, and I don't know what he has in his hand, but he like tries to hit him. And
a crowbar.
Oh yeah, he has a crowbar, and he tries to hit him.
I don't think there's any reason to have a crowbar. You wouldn't have one in a shop either. Oh, that's what he picked it up in the shop.
Yeah.
But mechanics don't have crowbars.
Really?
No.
Okay.
That's for like construction work.
Yeah.
We have pry bars, but not crowbars.
Maybe it was supposed to be a pry bar.
Okay. Whatever.
Anyways, but he's trying to hit him with this crowbar, and Michael grabs him by the head and starts slamming his head against the wall. Yeah. And kills him.
And it's brutal and it's scary.
Yeah.
Just like every time he throws him against the wall, you're like, oh God.
Yeah. And she goes under stalls. He grabs her leg at one point, but she like gets away, and then Aaron comes in and he starts killing Aaron, and she grabs the crowbar, and she's about to leave out of the
she's in the last stall.
Yeah, she's in the first stall. Well, she was in the last stall. Now she's in the first stall. And after, like, he kills Aaron, and he goes into her stall.
Aaron isn't dead. That's another scary part. Like, he's about to die.
He's about to die.
But he's just there, like, his face is smashed in, and his blood is pouring out of his face. And then he grabs the female podcaster and like lifts her up and chokes her, and they do that thing where they just show her feet stop moving, so you know that she's dead, and you're like, wow, like that was a really tense scene.
Yeah, and it was a good callback to the original whenever they show the feet of the guy that they stab, and then they stop his feet, which they do again. They do show someone hanging from a knife later.
Yeah, there's somebody pinned to the wall.
But they don't show his death.
Yeah, they don't show his death.
So they show the death of that first guy with the dangling feet.
Yeah, I like in this movie that there's a lot of deaths that they don't show. They just show you the aftermath of it. Because that's
But they do also show some.
They show a
deaths.
lot of kills, but something about the Halloween movies, I never thought they were really about like elaborate kills. That was always like a Friday the 13th thing to me. Is like showing elaborate kills, but the Halloween movies have always been about like suspense and scare, and like you're worried about people getting killed, and then when you find like a random dead body, it's just scary. You know? So I like that, and I appreciate they kept up with that.
Yeah. So then he starts like it's nighttime now, and he starts going around, and he's just killing people now.
Yeah. But also the sheriff and the deputy go to the gas station,
and they see
they find the dead bodies, and the guy's like, "See, I told you," but the sheriff still is like, "I'm not going to shut down Halloween."
Yeah.
So
what an asshole.
Yeah. So then it's then we also Laurie Strode is still freaking out, and she breaks into her own daughter's house, and they come home.
Oh yeah.
And she comes down the stairs and points a gun at him. She's like, "Bam, you're dead." And she's like, "You guys don't have a security system. You don't keep your doors locked.
Your doors are unlocked.
Yeah.
He can get in anyway."
And then her daughter is just like, "Look, you need help. You're mentally ill." So she's just not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And this is also, it's indicative, is that the right word? Indicative of the original, where everybody around Laurie is saying like, "Look, you need to calm down. Like, I don't know what you're so worried about." So I appreciate that they brought that theme back in this.
So it's now nighttime, and he's walking around, and he's going inside people's houses and killing them.
Yeah.
He goes into this one woman's house, and she's like this older woman, or she looked just like this older woman. She has her hair up in curlers. Nobody does that anymore.
I think this was a callback to Halloween 2. There's a part in that movie where he just goes in someone's house and takes a knife. Or was that in the original one?
I don't think so.
I don't know. But there is, in one of those movies, he just goes into a random person's house and takes a knife off the counter.
Oh.
And
Well, he doesn't... I don't think we see that. We see him... I don't even remember what we do with the older woman that has the curlers in her hair.
Yeah, I think that whole scene was an homage to one of the older movies, but I can't remember exactly. But first he caves her head in with a hammer.
Yeah.
Off screen. You just hear it. And that's very scary to hear.
And then he
somebody
walks past a baby.
Yeah. But then after he uses the hammer on her, he goes and picks up a knife.
In the kitchen.
Then you hear that baby crying, and you're like, he's going to kill the baby.
Yeah, but he walks past it.
Yeah. And also there is a note, like when it's first Halloween night and everybody's running around, a kid bumps into him the same way that Tommy Doyle bumped into him in the first movie. So it's another homage. You don't remember that part? You might have been taking a note.
Yeah.
But I saw it. Like, he's just standing there on the sidewalk, and a kid bumps into him, and he puts his hand on his shoulders, and then the kid just runs away. But that's Tommy Doyle does that in the original. You remember? Like right after he falls down and it breaks his pumpkin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yet another callback.
Yeah. So then he walks into another house, and this woman's like, "Oh my gosh, I heard about it. Let me lock my doors." And then we see her go into like her kitchen, and then she walks back to the front room. She's closing her blinds, and then Michael walks out from behind. We also see Michael walk past her, or past the window in the back, to go around the back side of her house while she's talking to the person on the phone. And then she's closing the blind, and then he comes up and stabs her through the back of the head.
Yeah, and it comes out her neck. And I remember thinking, like, wow, man, they're really going for it with these kills. Like, they're brutal.
Yeah, and I was like, it's all the gore now.
Yeah. But they're still, I like that they're quick and not drawn out. It feels like a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Because he's not an elaborate murderer. He just murders people. So then we see this Halloween party that's going on at school, and Allison and her boyfriend show up, and they are dressed up as Bonnie and Clyde, except for...
They're gender swapped.
Yes. And I thought this was really... this was the perfect part in the movie to like let a little bit of calmness happen, to let us enjoy the storm, because it's like, kind of lets the air out of the room, because it's like, oh look, they had a gender swapped costume, they're at a party, they're having fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of moments of like comedy in this movie or like funny, relaxed times, which definitely helps carry the movie along and doesn't make this movie feel like a drag.
The way the Rob Zombie movie did.
Yes, that movie was such a drag because it was just constant yelling and screaming and dying.
Yeah, if this movie was written by Rob Zombie, that Halloween party, kids would have been like saying all this gross shit and yelling at each other and fighting and fucking. And it'd just be like so jarring and unenjoyable. And it's the part of the movie where we're supposed to be feeling calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can't have our heart rates up through this
the whole entire movie. So they're dancing on the floor, and then she gets this call. I don't remember who the call. Oh, it was from her friend who's babysitting this boy.
Yeah.
The little boy character, he was such a delight.
Yes.
That was another, like, he was another character that was really fun.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed his parts because it made it more suspenseful for the rest of the movie.
Right.
But the little
kid did a good job.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job. But she's talking to the boy, and she's talking to her friend on the phone. She's like, "Yeah, we're gonna get some abracadabra or something like
Alakazam,
that."
I think it was.
And then the little boy goes, "I know what you're talking about, Alakazam." She goes, "No, you don't." He goes, "You're talking about weed. That's against the rules. I'm going to tell my mom." She goes, "Well, I'm going to tell your mom about your search history.
Your browsing history.
Your browsing history."
And he's like, "Oh, uh-oh."
No, he goes, "You better not."
Yeah, so it was some cute banter between this like babysitter and one of her kids that she sits, and you can tell they have a cute relationship.
Yeah. And she goes, "I have a lot of other kids that I like way more than you." And then later on, before she puts them to bed, she goes, "You're my favorite kid to put
Yeah. And
that I take
again,
care of."
just like the dad and the dance kid, you're with these two characters for a very short period of time, but they are developed.
And you like them.
You like them and you
don't
care
want
for
them to die.
You do not want them to die. Unlike every single character in the Rob Zombie movie, who you hate and you're happy that they're gone. And then Allison catches her boyfriend. What?
Well, I was about to say the other thing about the little boy is like he cusses sometimes, and it's so cute. He's little like he's just like cussing every now and then. He's just like, "I'm cool." It's really cute. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, they're at the party, and she walks back in, and she sees her boyfriend kiss this girl.
Yeah, and then so they go over buy some snacks to argue. One of my issues with this movie is like it's a little overdressed. Like the kids' costumes look too good. The party looks too good. You know, everybody's costumes, they look too nice. They don't look like Halloween store costumes. They look like movie costumes. And all the pumpkins, all the carved pumpkins are way
beautiful.
Yeah, they're like beautifully hand carved by some professional. It's one of my few issues with this movie, but it really takes you out of it when you see like somebody has 6 pumpkins on their porch and they're all beautifully carved.
Yeah, beautifully set up, everything.
Yeah. And the party that the kids are at with these costumes that are too nice just takes you a little bit out of it, in my opinion. But
well, I thought the costumes were fine.
I'm just saying they didn't look like
high school kid costumes.
Yeah, they look like movie prop costumes.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
But so they go buy the food and they're having this conversation, and he starts like blaming her for some reason. And so she takes he takes her phone and he throws it in this like goop, which is like the punch
pudding or something.
It was nasty looking. I was like, why would that be at the party?
The punch would have been fine. Just throw it in a punch bowl.
Yeah, but I think it was supposed to be punch.
No, I don't know.
You know, like whenever you have
like pudding, it looked like caramel pudding.
You know, like whenever people have punch and it has like sherbet in it, I think that's what they were going for, but it looked like goop.
Okay, whatever it was. Yeah, it didn't look good.
But it like plops
like
in there and it's like
costumes. All right, so now she doesn't have her phone. A pretty clever way. That's something that annoys me about modern movies is you have to figure out a way to get rid of everybody's phone. But I think it works. And
then we cut back to Allison's friend's house, And her boyfriend comes over, Dave.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, I have a tattoo. I just got a tattoo. It says 10/31/2018 or 10/31/18 because this is going to be the best night ever or something like that. And I was like, I don't know why.
I think maybe they cut some lines, but it kind of leads me to believe like maybe they were planning on losing their virginity that night.
Oh.
But it looks like it got cut.
Oh, maybe. But then she says, you're going to get you're going to get so dry fucked tonight. And I was like, what is dry fucked?
You want me to look it up?
Yeah. Google dry fucked.
It's probably going to bring up porn, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yep. Pornhub.
Oh, no. Look up, what is dry fucking?
Oh, here we go. Urban Dictionary. When both a man and a woman simulate sexual intercourse by rubbing their genitals against each other with friction, but without actual penetration.
Oh.
Usually done through embracing with each partner between the other partner's legs. Very erotic when both genitals are clothed. So it's just dry humping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's what they used to call it back in my day.
Yeah, just dry humping. That's okay.
Does that answer your question, Aaron?
Yep, that does.
You happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
Cool.
Okay. So they're trying to dry hump, which they do dry hump.
Yeah, they do.
But
then the kid runs down scared.
and he's like, there's someone in my hallway. Actually,
the closet, right?
yeah.
Does he say the boogeyman or
No. He says, I saw someone in my hallway standing outside my door. She goes, what's up? Dave goes, what's up, buddy? There was a fucked up face watching me from the dark. Ghosts and goblins, little buddy. Shut up, Dave. I heard him breathing and then I saw him. He's in here. Boogeyman in this house. Boogeyman's in this house. Yeah, he does call him the boogeyman.
You know, I have a feeling like Danny McBride was one of the people who wrote the script. I feel like this kid's voice is written in that typical Danny McBride thing.
I don't know who Danny McBride is.
He was he's from the Righteous Gemstones.
Oh,
He's the main guy with the
yeah.
but he's always like, man, fuck you, man. I
Yeah.
saw somebody in my room, like, but I feel like this kid is so written in
Yeah,
his
that
voice.
is Danny McBride part of this?
Yeah, he was one of the screenwriters.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then
Yeah.
I definitely hear him in this.
Yeah,
for
there's
sure.
a few characters in here that I go, was that written by Danny McBride?
Yeah, but then Vicky goes, "Okay, all right, come on, I got you. Let's go. Let's check it out." And he then Julian, the little boy, goes, "Send Dave first." I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, but they go upstairs and she's trying to put him back to sleep.
And she's like, she goes into his room and she like is like, "Oh no, why are you here? What are you doing here? You have to leave." And then she's like, "Just kidding. Nobody's in here. Come back to bed."
Oh, right, yeah.
Which of course she was going to do that.
Yeah.
Because you can tell whenever she was first putting him to bed, he was like, "But I'm kind of scared." And she's like, she starts like pretend creeping him out, but she's also like being endearing.
Right.
Because you can tell like she cares.
Uh-huh.
I think that's why I liked these teenagers so much, is because yes, they do jerk kind of things, but they also do still care.
Right.
And like I could see that like it was dynamic. It wasn't just one note.
Yes.
It wasn't
definitely.
like, oh, I'm going to be a jerk to these little kids, or I'm going to be sweet to the little kids. It was both. Like they had a beautiful dynamic.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. I watch Psycho Slasher is one of my favorite subgenres of horror, or it is my favorite subgenre. And you always have to have so many characters, and some of them are on screen very little.
Yeah.
So you have to develop their characters very quick. In this movie, everybody is very well developed. Like Allison's dad, he doesn't really have anything to do in the movie. He's just sort of there, but his character's developed. Like he's your typical, like he makes dumb dad jokes.
Yeah, but he's also like a sweet dad. Like you like him.
Yeah, you like him. And
all of the people that die, except for Dr. Sartan, everyone is likable.
Yeah.
Everyone. Even the
unless
woman,
they're not supposed to be, which Dr. Sartan was not supposed to
yeah.
be.
Even the woman that gets stabbed in the head and she's like, "I need to lock my doors." Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Like she's on the screen for like 2 seconds, but you're like, "Oh no, she's gonna die."
Yeah.
So like they did a really great job writing these characters and developing them to make you care about them.
Yeah. And then the boyfriend, while all this is going on, he's like screwing around, like smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, downstairs, and he sees something.
He sees Michael at some point, doesn't he?
No, he's walking out, and he sees like there's like the clothes on a line.
Oh yeah.
But he doesn't see Michael because Michael's upstairs.
I thought he saw him in the window. Maybe I'm wrong.
No.
But anyway, like he goes in the garage and like sits down on a motorcycle.
He sees a motorcycle in the garage and he's like, cool.
Yeah. And then we go back to she's putting the kid to bed and he's like, can you check the closet?
Well, he goes, can you just shut the closet? Because she's like, okay, it's time for bed. Because can you just shut the closet and I'll go to bed? And she goes to shut it and it doesn't shut. And she's like, what the hell?
Oh, that's right.
And she tries to shut it 3 times and then she opens it and Michael's right there. And you said, oh shit. And then the little boy goes, oh shit. That was so funny.
It was such a, like, people always complain about jump scares in movies.
Yeah.
But they're great if it's earned.
Yes.
They earned this jump scare and it was scary and it was good and it surprised me in a really great way.
Yeah.
I yelled out, oh shit.
Well, whenever she like couldn't close it, I was like, oh, I know he's going to be behind that door.
It made me miss, like, I wish I had gone to the movie theater to see this movie.
Yeah.
Because every time you go see a horror movie like this in the theater and you're in there with this audience, like the audience gets vocal sometimes and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was really funny to see, like, to hear Joey go, oh shit. And then the little boy repeat, oh shit. The little boy then runs down the stairs. Well, he runs and then he grabs Allison's friend and then I think he stabs her or something and she's bleeding and she's like holding on to the banister of the stairs. And the little kid's like, wait, what am I going to do? Let me go get Dave. And he can die. The girl's like, she's like, run away, run, go leave. And she's trying to get out, but he gets her. And then the little boy runs out of the house and he's like, Dave, you're going to die. And Dave's like, what? And so he goes and he's like, oh, not today. And he grabs a knife or something like that.
Yeah, to try to save his girlfriend.
Yeah. And then we don't see him after that.
Yeah. Later. We find out that he got pinned up against the wall, which he could have seen coming.
But
then the deputy shows up.
Well, no, Allison leaves the party, so it cuts back to Allison. She's leaving the party with her
her friend.
Boyfriend's friend.
Yeah,
and he they're talking on the way there, and he's like, "You deserve so much better. You're so pretty and nice, and you're the best, you're coolest person in the school," and blah, blah, blah.
I remember when this part was happening, I was like, look, dude, I see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And then
this is not the time.
Yeah. And then he tries to kiss her and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, well, I thought, and then he starts like making all of these excuses and he's like, there were girls and they were dancing all sexy around me and then
making me horny and
they
stuff.
were making me horny and then they were feeding me guacamole in sexy ways, which I thought was another fun. Like there's so many funny.
I feel like this kid was written by Danny McBride too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like it was so endearing. Mm-hmm. It was a really fun watch.
Yeah. And then so she walks off and he's just sitting in this person's yard and he thinks like, oh, he sees Michael and he's like, oh, this is the owner's yard, who I guess he knows because he says a name, but I don't remember what name he says.
Well, before that, so they're at this yard because they've jumped over and he's about to kiss her and then the lights turn on and then she leaves and then they turn off and then they turn back on and then he sees Michael.
Well, no, the light shut off and he sees something. And cause I think Michael's like behind a tree, but he thinks it's the owner of the house and he's like,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Before he sees Michael, they're in that same yard and she jumps over the other fence.
Yeah.
And then the lights turn off and then they turn back on and then he sees Michael.
Yeah. And Michael stabs him. But it's a cool kill because they don't show every bit of it.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying, hold on. they turn the lights off. And then they turn them back on. They see Michael. He sees Michael and he's like, "Hey, dude, I'm fine. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get back." But Michael heard everything he just said to Allison. And then the lights turn off and they turn back on. He's like, "Dude, where'd you go?" And then he turns around. He's a little bit closer, but like at another angle, like closer from the house. And then he's like, "I don't know what's going on, dude, but you need to like relax." And then the lights shut off again, and then they come back on, and he stabs him. And then they turn off right as he stabs him. So you don't really see.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
I know, but what I'm saying is that Alice, like what I wanted to say was that he was there and listening to all of the things he was saying to Allison.
Okay,
that's all I wanted to
all
say.
right. So it was a cool kill because they didn't show every minute or every bit of it.
Or he just slices his arm.
No, he stabs him or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, but an issue I have with movies these days is they show everything.
Yeah.
Like cut away from time to time, but they just have this like hard on for showing every bit of the action. It's like, let us decide in our minds what happens a little bit. Mm-hmm. And this kill does it in a really interesting way because we all know those motion sensing lights. Mm-hmm. We've all experienced those. So when it comes on and you hear it and you see a little bit of it, but it's just scary enough. Like you don't need to see the most brutal kill ever right here.
Yeah.
Especially since it's a teenager, Anyway, I thought that was well done.
Mm-hmm.
But then this is
so he slashes him. He runs to the gate and he's like yelling and like trying to climb over the fence. And he's like, "Help, help." And then he stabs him. And then the fence goes underneath through his mouth.
Okay.
But, and then Allison comes back and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like what the hell?" Because she hears him screaming for help and she goes back to see if she can help him. And then she sees Michael and she starts running.
All right. And then the deputy shows up at the house with the babysitter,
mm-hmm.
her friend that was babysitting. And he finds the dead bodies and he also finds a ghost sheet, a sheet with the eyes cut out of it. So that was a callback to the original.
And a pumpkin in the fish tank.
Yeah, there was a pumpkin there. But they have a better take on it than the original. Michael's not wearing the ghost sheet.
Yeah.
He just put it over the girl that he just killed.
I loved that.
Yeah,
I thought it was really clever.
Yeah.
Clever way to bring it back, but also a better way.
Yeah. And then that's when he finds the boyfriend pinned to the wall. Mm-hmm. Which is another homage to the original because that's how he kills Annie's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And that's also the same house that he puts the sheet over his head like a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the doctor shows back up. He's recovered. He's got a cast on. And he shows up at the house where there's now a crime scene.
And he tells the deputy, he's like, "We have to save blah, blah, blah."
Yeah. And then Lori shows up.
Michael.
Yeah, Lori shows up, and Dr. Sartan you see his whole attitude change. Mm-hmm. He's like in awe of Lori. He's like, "You're Laurie Strode. Mm-hmm. You're the one that Michael tried to kill and he got away." And you're like, what is going on with this guy now? And at this point, I was really confused.
I didn't think anything of him at all.
You didn't?
No, I didn't see this portion of him. I want to watch it again.
But you didn't notice how his attitude completely changed?
No, I didn't notice it.
Yeah, he was like in awe of her, like he had found treasure or something like that. I don't really know how to explain it. And you're like, "Man, what's going on with this dude?" Mm-hmm. It's weird. And what happens next?
Well, he tells them that y'all need to go. You need to take your family and hide.
Oh yeah,
and then we're gonna go. Daughter. We're gonna wait for your daughter, and we're gonna find her, and we're gonna bring her back to you.
Right.
But so the doctor and the sheriff are driving around, and they see Allison, and she's like, I saw Michael, and blah blah blah. I need help. And they're like, "Well, we have to drive around. We have to find Michael so that we can stop him."
Right.
And they're driving by and she sees Michael. She's like, "He's right there. He's right there." And then the sheriff hits him with his car.
Yeah, which is a real strange choice.
Yeah. And then
But I like that the deputy or whatever, I wish I remember his name, but I like that he is not Hawkins. That's what his name is. But he's not screwing around. He is like, look, if we find Michael, I'm going to kill him. I'm literally going to shoot him to death.
Yes.
Because he is the most dangerous person in the world.
And I didn't do it whenever I first should have.
Yeah.
Because he was, I think he was saying that he was the first one to see Michael and he should have shot him, but he didn't.
Right. And also there's a part where the doctor, Laurie Strode is talking to the doctor at that crime scene, and she's like, I wish that he would break out. And he's like, why? And she's like, so I could kill him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, that's a dumb thing to pray for.
The doctor says that?
Yeah. Which is another thing, like, man, what is going on with this guy? And then so they see Michael and they hit him with the car.
And then the doctor gets out and he's like, don't kill him.
Yeah.
And he's like, why not? And then the doctor says I don't remember what the doctor says, but he then takes out this like weird scalpel blade thing. And then he stabs the the officer.
Yeah. And the officer was like, get out of the way because I'm going to shoot him in the head, essentially. But the guy stabs him.
He's like, I'm going to blow his
before
brains out.
Yeah. And then the doctor, and Laurie is in the back of a cop car. Which
yes,
if you know,
and she can't get out.
Yeah, if you know cop cars, they can only be open from the outside.
They're child locked.
Yeah, yeah, child locked. So she's stuck back there, and it's scary. And Dr. Sartain is like pulling Michael into the car and putting him back there with Allison.
Yeah,
and you're like afraid that
he's gonna wake up. He's gonna kill her.
Yeah, but for some reason he doesn't.
Yeah,
which is, you might think like, oh, that's bad writing, but no, it
was really adrenaline inducing.
Yeah, but the thing that really caught me about it was like, a lot of people might say like, oh, well, I understand Michael and he would have just killed her, but it's good writing in my opinion because we don't understand Michael and we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
So we don't know why he's in the back seat not trying to kill Allison.
Well, also he's laying there. He's unconscious.
He sits up at one point. He's sitting up in the back. You might not have seen it because he doesn't have his mask on either. But like there's a part where he's sitting up and his hand is on the middle seat next to Allison.
Yes, but he puts him in the car and then they're driving away. It's not until he's driving away and he seems unconscious still, and then she goes, he spoke to me before. She's lying to the doctor.
Well, because the doctor starts saying like, I was hoping that if he was able to see Laurie or kill Laurie or something like that he might speak. Because I think what they're getting at is like, if you want to give someone therapy who's nonverbal, it's impossible. So this doctor's like, I could break through to him if he starts talking. Or something like that, or I can understand the monster, which is, I think at this point in the movie, I think in my head that's what he was trying to get at. It's like he wanted Michael to talk so he could understand what was driving the monster in him.
Yeah, but he's laying down, the mask is in between Michael and Allison, and the doctor's talking about how he wants to understand him, and Allison goes, he spoke to me.
Right.
He said one word. If you stop the car and let me out, I'll tell you what the word is. And he goes, okay. And so he stops the car and they're almost to Laurie's house, her compound, really. And he stops the car and he goes, what was the word? What did he say? And
he calls her bluff because she's like, let me out of the car. And he's like, no, I'm not going to let you out of the car. But he also doesn't want to maybe pass up the opportunity to hear something that he might have said.
Yeah. What did he say?
I don't know.
But he said a word. Oh, he was like, was it Judith? And then that's what wakes Michael up because then he starts moving. Oh, right.
Yeah.
So Dr. Sartain,
But he attacks Dr. Sartain instead of Allison.
I think he hears Judith coming from his mouth, and that's what causes Michael to become angry.
Oh.
And he grabs the mask, forces he puts it on, forces the seat in.
Yeah.
Because I think his hand was on the mask even when he was unconscious. Mm-hmm. But him saying Judith is what woke him up.
Okay. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But that makes sense.
But also it was like, oh shit, like that's what the trigger was.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to do with his sister. He gets Dr. Loomis out of the car.
Well, he kicks the
seat in.
The seat forward, but it's that whole plastic piece that's in the back of cop cars that separates them from the inmate or whatever.
Is it plastic or metal?
It's both.
Oh, okay.
But he kicks it in.
I don't know. I've never been in a
so
cop
crazy
car.
looking too. But I don't remember how Lori gets out. Does she climb through the front seat?
I think so. But he takes the doctor out of the car.
Yeah, he does.
And he's like doing something to the doctor. Oh, the doctor's like, "What did you say?" Da, 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 da. He's trying to talk. He's like, "Just say one word, Michael." And then Michael steps on his face.
Yeah, Michael stomps his head in.
But when he's talking to Michael, she gets out of the car and she sees him crush his face, and then she runs into the woods.
Yeah, she runs into the woods.
And there's also some police officers that have seen their lights from further away when they stopped. And he was like, what the hell is going on? And they drive up. And
yeah, these two cop partners, and they do another really great job of developing these guys too. Because this one guy's like, I got you some banh mi. And he's explaining to him what banh mi is. And he's like, it's Vietnamese for baguette, but it's like a sandwich. And I got you
a peanut butter and jelly banh mi.
And then I don't remember what the other cop like brought cake or something.
Oh, it was brownies. And he goes, that's food for little kids.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And then they see all this commotion going on in the background. So they show up. But I think they die off screen. Everything happens.
Yeah, we don't see them. We don't see them die.
Yeah.
But the police go over there, and then we go into the woods with Allison, and then we cut to Lori, and she's putting her daughter and her husband in the secret little compartment in their house.
Yeah.
Secret basement.
Yeah, that they set up earlier.
And they're showing.
I don't think we talked about it, but they set up that she has a basement, like safe house.
Yeah. And she has like guns in there and like food and all kinds of stuff. And she told them like, pick your gun. She's talking about all these different types of guns and stuff, which kind of flew over my head. But she's like, pick a gun.
She says, use this revolver because it won't jam, which is true. Revolvers don't jam.
Okay.
But and then like shotgun's good for this. But anyway, that doesn't matter.
But they are then just waiting at her house, and then the cop car pulls up, and they're not in the basement part anymore. They're just around the house, and the cop car pulls up, and the dad, Ray, goes outside, and he's like, "Hey, officers, like, what's going on? Like, is my daughter here with you?" And he opens the door, and the police officer, his neck is broken.
Yeah, and then the other officer had been like decapitated.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was gross. It was
he was in his hands or something like that.
Yeah, or it was like shoved on the end of the shotgun or something.
Yeah,
it was nasty.
And then you see Michael behind him, and then Michael then like strangles him with a chain or something.
Yeah.
And then Lori sees Michael. She hears Ray, and then she locks the door, and they're getting ready to. And she's like, she tells her daughter to go downstairs. She tells Karen to go downstairs.
Then I think Allison is running through the woods, and she
stumbles upon all the mannequins.
Yeah,
that
all
she
the
was shooting
mannequins at
earlier.
the shooting range. And then I think...
So we know that she's close to her grandmother's house. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to...
She's at it. She's on the property there.
Yeah. And then we cut to the house again, and Michael
tries to get in, and like he reaches through the door and starts to strangle Lori's head against the door.
Yeah.
But she manages to get away.
Yeah, she has something, and she cuts his hand. She blows his hand off.
Yeah, with her shotgun, she blows like 2 of his fingers off.
Yeah, so he's bleeding.
Yeah.
And she blows his hands off, and then she runs downstairs and closes the little door, and she's with Karen, and she's like, you need to be quiet. Like, he's here. And they see him like walking above them, and then she shoots him through the floor. And I was like, why would you shoot him? You just showed him where you're at.
Right. But she's completely confronting him. She's not.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She's not retreating or anything like that. She's basically fighting him. She just knows she can't she's not strong enough to beat him like hand to hand. So she's trying to be a little bit more cunning.
Yeah.
Right. And they're upstairs and they're fighting. And there's a bunch of, every closet has louver doors on it, which is a callback to the first
original
movie. Yeah. And eventually she gets the best of him and shoots him, and like she falls out the balcony.
Yeah. She's in a room where there's a bunch of mannequins, and she's like, it's very suspenseful. And he finally like pops up, and then he does something, and she like falls outside of the house, and he looks over and he sees her like laying on the floor, and then he hears Allison come into the house.
Yeah. And he turns away.
And then he looks back, and she's gone, just like he did in the first movie. Yeah, which I thought was really great.
The best callback of the movie. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we don't see her for a little while. The next thing we see is
Allison and her mom.
Well, Allison's mom hears her, and so she opens the little thing, and
that's what I was just about to say. But anyway, so they go down in the basement together, and then she's like, well, what am I going to do? And she sees her gun with KS carved into it.
Yeah.
Which are like, oh, Karen Strode. That was her gun.
And they can hear Michael coming.
Yeah. And she's like, this is my gun for when I was a kid. So I've got to be what my mom trained me to be to save my daughter. And they hear him coming, and he's like trying to rip the thing off
the island.
Yeah, the kitchen island, and he's eventually going to be able to do it.
Yeah. And then he finally rips it open, and then she's waiting in the thing. She's like, Mom, is that you? And like she's real scared. Her voice is trembling. And then you're expecting her mom to pop up, but Michael shows up, and she goes, gotcha.
Yeah.
And
she shoots him in the neck.
She keeps saying, I can't do this, Mom. I can't do this. And then he walks up, and she goes, I gotcha. And she shoots him in the neck. And then he falls down the stairs. No.
Lori comes in and kicks him down the stairs.
Yeah. And Lori pops up behind him. She goes, Happy Halloween, Michael. And she kicks him down the stairs.
And I don't remember if she turns on the gas before or after, but I kind of feel like it was before she kicks him down there. And then she's like, come on, let's go. And Karen and Allison get out of there. Mm-hmm. But then Michael reaches back up and grabs Karen.
Yeah, by the leg.
Yeah. And then so Lori stabs him in the arm. And
No. They're trying to get him off. And then Allison sees the knife.
Allison,
and she grabs the knife and stabs him in the arm. And then he lets go. And then she kicks the rest of him off. And then there's this like trap door. And it like is like claws. And she tells her mom says, this isn't a cage, this is a trap. Karen tells her daughter, Allison, this isn't a cage, this is a trap. And then they leave the house, and you see all of the fires starting.
They show all the gas coming out of the vents or pipes or whatever, and then she takes a flare and
lights it up.
And then throws it in there. And it's a really cool shot of like Michael looking up the stairs and all the flames behind him.
Yeah. It was a really cool shot.
Yeah. So they run out of the house, and it's on fire. And you're like, well, is it over? Mm-hmm. You don't really know.
And then they get in a truck, and then we see the knife beside them, and then we cut back to the house, but that's it. Uh-huh. And then we hear the music again. But the thing that I was going to add that I noticed is at the beginning of the credits. So the song is famously in 5/4 time. Dun, 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 dun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they changed it to 4/4 time. At the very beginning, it was in 4/4 time of the song at the beginning of the credits, and then halfway through it changed back to 5/4 time. So I was like, oh, it's over. And then I was like, no, it's not. So, and then I found out there was a sequel, or there's 2 other sequels to this.
Yeah, I told you that. Yeah, this isn't the end of the movie.
Because I thought it was. I was like, oh, that's cool. Because it's in 4/4 time. It's the end. And then they cut it back to 5/4. And I was like, well, why'd they put it back?
Yeah, it was interesting composition, and I really liked it. All right, Aaron, that is going to do it for Halloween 2018. I already know where you're going with this, but what is your no bullshit assessment of Halloween?
I thought this was a really great movie. I want to watch it again so that I can see some of the things that you stated, like especially about the doctor and some of the weird behavior he was presenting. Thinking back on it in the beginning, whenever he was talking to the podcasters and he was antagonizing him, the doctor was like, no, let him. And it was like, what the fuck? He's like antagonizing your patient and you're just going to let him? Like, I wouldn't let someone just antagonize my patient if I was a mental health provider, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I want to see what kind of other ways he shows his character before he fully turns, to see those little tidbits. But yeah, it's a great movie. I think you should watch it.
Yeah, I do too. This is my favorite subgenre of horror, and I gotta say that this is one of the best movies I've seen in, I don't know, probably like 20 years, maybe?
Yeah.
I feel like the last really good psycho slasher I saw, I'm not even going to say it was that good, but when they did the reboot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that was in like 2003.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed that. And I think this movie is better than that. I think it's a lot better than that.
Yeah.
This movie really scratched an itch that I haven't had scratched in a very long time. And they did everything right. Like, they got all the macro stuff right. They went back to the original movie and they brought everything forward into a sequel that doesn't suck. It kind of made me realize how bad all of these Halloween sequels have been. Yeah. All of them.
Also, something else is whenever we started talking about the movie, I started liking it more, thinking about, because honestly, Rick, whenever I saw it, I wasn't thinking about all of these things that we've like discussed about it, but it's made me like this movie even more, and it's even more closely like tied to the first movie.
Yeah.
With how good it is.
There's a lot going on in it. Unlike the first movie, which is pretty simple and straightforward, like there's a lot happening in this movie.
But it doesn't feel overwhelming or
it feels like
helpful.
it feels like a typical movie of like that's going on right now, but it's so when you're watching it, you're like paying really close attention. But when you think back on it later and you're talking to somebody about it, you're like, wow, that was really good. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. I liked every kill, like every character was interesting, and I didn't want to see them killed, except for maybe the podcasters.
Yeah.
But it's just good writing. I don't think the other ones are gonna be as good, but if they're even close, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I after these 3 movies came out and how good everybody was saying they were, I was like, maybe we'll get a trilogy of Friday the 13th movies.
Oh.
I'm still holding out that they're going to be like, let's do what the Halloweens did.
What year did Friday the 13th come out?
1980. Yeah. So it's a direct response to these movies. But so hopefully they can again piggyback off the success of Halloween. Right now, they would have done it already. But right now, the Friday the 13th stuff is all it's all in litigation to see who actually owns it. So hopefully they'll be done with that. There's supposed to be a 10 episode TV series coming out. But
Friday the 13th?
Yeah, which I'm waiting for. I hope the writer's strike doesn't screw it up. But hopefully in a few more years we'll get like a Friday the 13th trilogy. And I would love it if it did the same thing and was like, okay, let's pick a movie that's early in the franchise that we're going to start from. Yeah. Like if they're like, we're going to start from part 2 or something like that. When he had the bag over his head and not the hockey mask. Like if they made a movie where he doesn't even have a hockey mask, I feel like that's so cool. I would love that. Yeah. If they retcon the hockey mask. But anyway, we'll stop talking about that. Aaron, we are going to play a little game.
Okay.
And it's called F, Marry, Kill.
Oh my gosh, what?
Laurie Strode has been played by Jamie Lee Curtis in 3 different movies at 3 different ages. So, Aaron, which Laurie Strode are you going to fuck, marry, and kill?
Okay.
We got the 78, we've got the 1998, and we've got the 2018.
Okay.
So we got Grandma Laurie Strode, teenage Laurie Strode, and like Mom Laurie Strode.
Well, my question is, I don't really know what was her character like in the H2O version. I don't think you've seen him, have you? You haven't?
Well, she's still the same character. She just kind of looks different. She has like short hair.
So it's based off of look.
Yeah, I think in the movie she's an alcoholic and she teaches at a private school that her son goes to.
Okay. So she's a teenager in the first one, so I'm definitely going to kill her because that's gross.
Yeah, you can't really marry or you can't kill a teenager either.
Well, I mean, you can't do any of them to a teenager, but you can't kill anyone. But I'm going to kill the teenager because that's just, you just can't do that. I'd probably fuck H2O, Jamie Lee Curtis, because she seems to be dealing with a lot at this moment and not at.
She just needs to relieve some stress.
Yeah, like something's going on. And I think that's a lot for me to deal with all the time. But I would marry 2018 because she would be able to protect me. And she would make sure that we survived if Michael came back. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill the youngest one. I'm going to fuck H2O. And I'm going to marry 2018. She'll protect me. You know,
right.
I need protection.
Here we are again, everybody, asking the tough questions that you haven't seen it.
Who am I going to
Which
fuck, marry?
version of Laurie Strode are you going to fuck, marry, kill?
If you have any insight on who you would fuck, marry, or kill, please send them in to us at Joey and Aaron Pod. Joey and A-N-D?
Yes, spelled out. It's in the episode description. Just look.
Joey and Aaron Pod at gmail.com.
All right. So next week is going to be November.
We're
going to miss Halloween Day by 1 day. So we're not going to have anything released on Halloween Day. But the day after, it's still kind of a scary movie. It's Pan's Labyrinth. Do you know anything about Pan's Labyrinth?
I only know that it's in Spanish.
Yeah, we're going to have to read subtitles for it.
But I don't mind that.
It's worth it. It's totally worth it.
I have heard it's a really fantastic movie. My head director, so I'm a theater teacher. My head director, this is one of his favorite movies.
Oh, really?
So he really enjoys this movie.
He speaks Spanish, so he doesn't even have to read the subtitles.
He doesn't have to read the subtitles.
Lucky him.
I know, for real. So he really loves this movie. So
it's really good. It's fantastic. I've only seen it once, but it's always stuck out in my head, and it's just good. Mm-hmm. So that's going to do it for us here at
You Haven't Seen It?
Watch out for murderers.
No, don't die. Bye.
Bye.
Bonfires burning bright, pumpkin faces in the night. I remember Halloween, dead cats hanging from poles, little dead are out in droves. I remember Halloween. Brownleaf vertigo, where skeleton life is known. I remember Halloween.